Good morning. My name is Terry Lynch. I'm the CEO of Power Nickel, and Power Nickel is probably best known for its NISK project in Quebec and our discovery in the Line Zone, where we've had a massive polymetallic discovery with some extremely high grades and great intersections. So look forward to talking to you more about that shortly.
Yeah, well, it's really just to get a review of the year, because I think you've had a heck of a year, not just share price, but in terms of what you've actually done on the ground. So maybe for people new to the story, let's kind of talk about the progression from beginning of the year through to where we sit today.
Sure. So obviously with a name like Power Nickel, we started off as a nickel project, and we have a nice, high-grade nickel sulfide project called NISK Main. And and looking for more nickel, which is, we had about, I think the 43-101 was 7.2 million tons, about 1.13, probably around 8.5 right now with some of the other work we've done. But in looking for more nickel, we stepped out along the ultramafic sequence, which is where the nickel sulfide is hosted, into another ultramafic sequence in the northwest corner of our project, about 5.5 kilometers away, and drilled it. And at 60 meters, we hit 8 meters of massive sulfides. Basically it was about 1.5% copper and about almost an ounce of PGMs. So that was the start, and that was obviously a great discovery hole, but it was just not even a top 10 hole for us now. We blew up from there, and we started exploring, and we've had multiple grades of more than 10 meters and 10% copper equivalent, and I guess our biggest intersection was 32 meters of 7% copper equivalent and 40 meters of 5%. So we've had exceptional hits. It's now stretched out from 550 meters, east to west, and about 500, maybe 600 meters at depth. So analysts are suggesting we have somewhere between 5 to 7 million tons of, pick a number, 5, 6, 7% copper equivalent. And that's, we think, just scratching the surface of what this is. And it's, as it turns out, an orthomagmatic Nickel-Copper-PGE deposit with a kicker of gold and silver. So we've had an amazing run, Matt, and it's been really, we have to sort of pinch ourselves, honestly.
You do. Unusual, should we call it? Not too many stories around like this at the moment. What you've also done is attracted the great and the good of the space as well, which I think is always telling. Maybe talk about some of the names who've come in. I think that's
so obviously,
indicative.
When we started to hit on this, we started to attract some smart mining guys. So the first really smart one, I guess, to join was Rob McEwen, who this time last year, he and I did a $2 million round equally. And that was the first investment. And then after we reeled off the opening of the Line Zone, where we drilled 16 holes and 15 of the 16 hit, and half of them were like 10 meters, 10% copper equivalent type stuff, we ended up doing a financing end of June last year with where we raised 20 odd million, and half of that was taken by Robert Freeland, the legendary mining magnate, and then Rob took another 20%, and we had 3 mining funds took the balance. So also had people like Gina Reinhardt played a big role, and she really drove the stock from 40 cents to 70 cents with her purchases off market. And there's I think the last count, we had 14 billionaires in the deal. So it's really been the only thing that's worked this year is ultra high net worth buyers, because as you know, the general mining conditions were savage, and mining funds, the ones that the few that are left surviving are scrambling, licking their wounds, trying to protect their core investments. And there hasn't been a lot of new investments. We were lucky, obviously, just because our thing is so over the top good. But yeah, it's been a challenge, so we were extremely fortunate. Plus we were in Quebec, and Quebec has that unique 2-for-1 feature where we're able to get double the money in because of the exploration credits and stuff like that. So that worked really to our advantage, and we've certainly leveraged that.
Okay, well, you get rock star grades. We've got some rock stars involved in this thing, but you hit upon something there which I think is of the moment in terms of people trying to understand how you survive a market like this. We've seen a lot of companies having to change the way that they get after a project because they've got the money, access the capital to do things conventionally. Say institutional guys have gone, retail's gone, and for you, going for these uber, I guess, ultra high net worths has worked for you. But do they have different expectations about how you get after this as a result?
No, they're they basically, generally all of them have stepped in with a little bit of buying in the market and then get a sense, and I watch it for a bit. And I never closed any of them in one meeting. So it always was a sell over a period of time where they got comfortable with what we were doing, how we were doing it, and our approach, and probably they were doing due diligence on the side. But I think, at the end of the day, if we're being honest, it isn't any sweet talking from Terry. It was the sweet talking of the rock. I mean, this rock is exceptional, and it's not like a one strike, one good hole. We've got, I don't know, 15 or 20 great holes. So it's just a really consistent. If you were to say anything about this project, it's consistently high grade. Like we're talking 5, 7, 10, 12%. I mean, it's been unreal grades, like grades we haven't seen in 30 years. Anywhere, and then we've had big intersections, right? It's not been 1 meter, 2 meters. We've had 30 and 40 meters. So we've put together over a long stretch of ground now. So it's really been the consistency of the excitement of the grade and the tonnage that's building. These guys do the math. They're the smartest guys on the planet, and they got great advisors, and they figure stuff out quicker than retail has. Honestly, and because they're buying it at a bargain price. I mean, well, of course, our stock's done fantastic relative to the rest of the market. In an ordinary market, this thing would be $3 or $4. So yeah, we're at 80 or 90 cents, or I guess 90 cents today. And we're obviously proud of that, happy about that. But we recognize if you compared us against peers that are out there, we're savagely cheap in our view. But that's just the way of it at the moment. But I think, as good as 2024 was, and it was a great year, based upon what I see with this deposit or this mineralized zone, I have to be careful. It's likely 25 will be an even more exceptional year.
Right. Okay. You raised some money in the middle of the year. How much of that is left for new drilling into the new year?
Yeah, we're in good shape cash wise because we had about, I guess at the start of the quarter, something in 13, 14 million range, and then gotten more warrants have been exercised because there's probably about, I don't know, $11 million of warrants that are in the money coming in that have come in. So we're good. We could certainly go to the end of 25. We've got a 30,000 meter program that we're about halfway through now. And we reported the first holes just this week, the first 2 holes. One of them was very good. And then we'll have a bunch more out in probably the second week of January, and then the 4th week of January. So the holes will just start to come out sequentially, and we'll keep on drilling. Probably add a 3rd rig in January, and because we'll be able to go land rigs now for the rest of the way, and we'll drill aggressively through to the end of April to goose season. So,
right, okay. Do any of these billionaires, these rockstars, they sit in the board, or are they advisors in any way, shape, or form?
They're none of them are on the board. I text with Robert Friedland and Robert McEwen quite frequently, just chatting with them, just sometimes asking different thoughts on different things that things that we've come across and what do they think and that sort of thing. So it's always handy to be able to exchange thoughts with guys that have obviously got a lot more experience than we do and have been super successful. So that's been beneficial, and we've been lucky to be able to do that.
Right. Okay. Good. Because obviously, when you talk to billionaires, and I've been lucky enough to work with a few, they have a very different outlook on life because money's not a problem. They're not worried about the share price on a day-to-day basis, and that's great for you because they might have they'll learn things along the way that they can share with you, and that's great. But you will also feel the pressure from the market at some point when you kind of got through the drilling next year. Do you feel sort of the need to get into sort of resource expansion, definition, studies, etc.?
I think that the world's evolving a little bit in that way. Like we've been posting for some time all of our drill collars and azimuths So amateur, not amateur, but like I would say, let's say non,
Enthusiastic.
non 43101 QPs that are geologists who may work for Anglo for all we know are running their own leapfrog models on us now. And so that's going out there. And that sort of started with Great Bear, probably. They were sort of, I think, the pioneer behind that. And so now when you have a resource that's growing as quickly as Lion is and as NISK is, it's probably not an idea to do the resource update. If when people ask me that question, I say no current plans. If anything, maybe towards the end of next year, because at this point, we're still rapidly growing the thing. The first 10,000 meters of drilling at Lion got us probably to analyst estimate 5 million tons. So we're doing 30,000 meters. Would we expect to go to 15 or 20,000 tons? We actually do think we'll get there, and so that, and yet we think that's also still going to be the start. This is people. I've been pounding this home in the interviews and conversations that people are losing the plot here. This is going to be big, and it's this is how these orthomagmatic things come. For every again in the history of time, there always can be one of when it's not. So this could be some weird anomaly in that we only find the copper sulfides in what is a nickel sulfide body. That would be very weird, but I guess it's possible. But if you looked at the polymetallic deposits in the history of the Earth, there's not been a lot of them. And generally speaking, these types of orthomagmatic bodies, they've had for every ton of copper sulfide you'll find between 2 and 7 tons of nickel sulfides underneath. And generally the average is around 5. So if we find 10, 15, 20 million tons of copper sulfide, ordinarily one would expect you'd find somewhere between, I don't know, pick a number, 40 to 100 million tons of nickel sulfide. So it's going to be big. And we've found 8 already, so it's not like it's not coming from nothing. So I think people are missing that. I think that, but I think that's the opportunity, right? We've always said, people should be looking for asymmetric bets in this investment. Climate. You want to be into something that has very little downside because they've already got a ton in the ground, they've got cash, and then it's like, hey, what do the bones look like? Can it get bigger? Can it become world class? Because that's when, right now, that seems probably the only way out of these things is to have such a killer deal. But luckily, I would say tick, 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 we were blessed that this, particular project looks like it could tick those boxes and get that big.
Right. Okay. So again, because lots of conversations have people trying to stay relevant. You've got the grades with this kind of polymetallic approach of yours, and the drilling keeps giving. So why stop? So no plans for feasibility studies anytime soon. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right. Yep.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about some of the other little things which just kind of can cause problems along the way if you're not sort of keeping on top of them. So will you be doing any kind of metallurgical work as you go on?
So that's one we definitely need to do. And we've started working on that already, and would expect to have a MET study out in H2 as early as we can. And we actually feel confident that this will be really good recoveries here. But that's always the concern on polymetallics. Is the recoveries. So the quicker we can address that, the better. That'll be a big day for us. When we reflect a very good recovery rate, that'll be a big day for us. So we'll definitely, we're on that. We've done a bunch of work on that. I actually talked to Robert Friedland about that before he made the investment. I asked him what his thoughts were, because obviously he's got a ton of experience with Platte Reef and what they went through down there. And he said, look, with the technologies and approaches that are out there these days, he says, I'm sure we can get to a really good place. So.
Okay, yeah, and be interesting. And I guess you're kind of working to, obviously with the grade, you're working to scale. It'd be nice to see, what you spit out, and from the point of view of the processing, but also on the smelter side of things, because that really kind of affects payables at some point down the line as well. Will you be sort of investigating all of that too?
Yeah, because we on the nickel side, we obviously have Steve Murray, who is still working on that on the nickel sulfide side of things, where effectively we would go to a finished product there, making the nickel powders. So that would be, there's 3 ways to make nickel. You can have a smelter, You can do hydrometallurgy, or you can use chemical metal vapor process, which is the CVMR approach. And that's where it's basically a chemical synthesis where you drop the nickel out of the air, and it's super ultra pure, and it can do platinum, palladium, and a bunch of other minerals as well. So it's a pretty cool process. So we're going through that process with those guys, but also with others in terms of on the copper side of things. We're be engaging some different engineering firms on that. But I think the metallurgy will be key to get it out there, and we're working on it, and we see it as we think it'll be a plus, because the rock is very the chalcopyrite is very amenable to us, and we think it'll be a good rock to work with.
Okay, and now because of the money you've had to date, and because of some of the names you've had today, I've got to ask this question with regards to thoughts around strategic partnerships and offtakes. It feels like either those guys are coming in on a PA basis, or they're lining themselves up for some kind of future relationship here. Either way, so it's a great conversation to have. But for now, I imagine money is easy to come by, so no need for those conversations yet?
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously, people are contacting us, the bigger, obviously the industry guys. When we were in Beaver Creek, when we last chatted at Beaver Creek, we had as many industry meetings as we did investor meetings. And we're in the business of being transparent and forthright with these people, because at some point, I'm sure we'll be working with them, one way, shape, or form. So that those conversations are being had, and we'll keep people posted. But it's certainly too soon, for us. We've got a lot of exploration to do. There's a lot of value to create for our shareholders, and it's too soon for those types of conversations. We've got ample interest from the financial community to write bigger checks if we need more money.
Right. Okay. And I'm just looking at some of the things that some companies haven't really had their eye on, and perhaps got affected by, and I'm sure you have. But just talk me through them in terms of the kind of social license. Quebec is a great province to do business, but you've got to have your eye on that. So how are you managing that?
We've been very proactive on that. We were the first ones to actually have a carbon neutral drill program in the country. We've maintained that. We've also been very proactive with working with the James Bay Cree. We're a phenomenal, they're our First Nations partner. They're an outstanding group to work with. We take that stuff very seriously. I think you have to these days, and it makes sense. It's going to make things smoother. We have a government relations firm that works for us and is engaging, the government in conversations for, ultimately what will become, we believe, a mine. It is up. We drop the frame. But we've been working with both the government of Quebec and the government of Canada to keep them apprised of our progress moving forward, to discuss the various programs they have available to us to advance us both now and in the future. And it's that's a very big part of mining these days, is the social license to actually move forward. And that's one of the most, you got to have grade and tonnage, but you got to do it in a place that you actually aren't going to get robbed, that you can actually have a legitimate shot of building a mine and in some sort of permit environment that isn't going to crucify you. And Quebec is phenomenal. You still have to do things right, but as long as you do things right, they're very good people, and there's tons of talent. They want to, like the James Bay Cree. There's in their territory, they've got 2 mines and 2 more to come. So they're very pro mining. They recognize that's a great jobs for their community members, great royalties for the for the band. And they can do many other things with that. And obviously, if we make the big discovery up there, they'll be a wonderful partner, and there'll be a lot of benefits for them, and that's fair.
Absolutely. And you mentioned hit upon something else there. And I think one of the companies that you know well, Canada Nickel, taking advantage of this, where the grants and the credits available provincially and federally for green metals it seems to be there at the moment. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen next year with regards to the current party, but are you getting any sort of signs of that might change, or you expect to see support from government?
You know what, we talk to the U.S. Government just as much as we do the Canadian government. And
interesting.
Obviously, with the change that's coming with President-elect Trump. I think the IRA will go, but it'll be replaced by the Defense Supply Act or something like that. They're committed. They recognize, I think the Americans and I think the Canadians too recognize that they've let the Chinese win the supply chain race, and I think they're recognizing as leaders of these countries that it's put our economies in jeopardy by lack of support, and so I think some of the name and branding may change, but I have no doubt that there'll continue to be support for critical minerals in both U.S. and Canada.
Right. Okay. And I just want to let you kind of finish off here, because you said something earlier about perhaps the retailer missing something here. Like if I look at your chart and I go, wow, crikey, I've missed the boat here, folks. What would you say to people who think that, who wish, I wish I'd got back in April?
We get that conversation a lot, and I say, yeah, you missed the first 4-bagger, but you haven't missed the 10-bagger that's coming, or maybe the 50-bagger that could come after that. So this is, you got to get your head into what happens when you have a world-class discovery. A world-class discovery routinely is like a 50-bagger, okay? So we've come a long way, and it's been a great run for our existing guys. God bless all of them for being there and supporting us. But this is, by any stretch of imagination, I expect next year to be better than this year. So this year we did like a 4-bagger. I would be very disappointed if we did less than that next year, which is a bold thing to say. I get that. But I'm not saying that because I'm on drugs. I'm saying that because I'm on the drill bit, and this thing is working, and we haven't been paid for it yet, but all great deposits get paid, and this will be a great deposit. We will get paid. So we'll work our way through the shorts and through all those other guys, and ultimately, we'll get our showers what they deserve.
Terry, you've had a great year. Look forward to hearing what you do next year. Appreciate your time.
Listen, Merry Christmas to you and yours. Hope everyone has a great one and a safe one. Cheers for now.